again to another edition of Torchbearer Podcast Show. I'm your host, Olusegun Awe. It's such a delight to come on your platform today and to bring onto you our very great author, teachers, and mentor, Mr. Yemi Adesina, a prolific writer that have written so many books such as the history of Africans and the Britain. He has written so many books on the African history and how they influence the civilization. And he's also an investor, a farmer, and a coach and lecturer in agricultural produce and productions. But that aside, today is coming on board to come and give us something about parenting in the UK. And a title is this actually is a curriculum, a training, but he's just going to talk about it generally. Then we'll do some invitation afterwards and tell you guys how you can be part of this if you want to have a full training about this topic. The topic is African Family Survivor Toolkit. African Family Survivor Toolkit. And what is that all about? So I throw the question to you. What is African Survivor Toolkit all about? The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Awe. Thank you for the introduction. Basically, the African Family Survivor Toolkit is a toolkit that is like a handout and one-day seminar that we do to equip African family with a powerful, time-tested blueprint for navigating Britain today. The whole idea of the toolkit is to teach parents and families how to survive, how to succeed, and how to raise children successfully in the UK. Now, for one to have confidence to say that there must be a reason, to put this toolkit together, we did a study on 100 years history of immigration into the United Kingdom. Because we realized that at the end of the day, we are not the first to come to immigrate to this country. And there's no reason to invent the wheel when it comes to life have to be in this country. In fact, the Bible says in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 6, verse 16, it says, standing by the road, look and ask for the ancient paths, where the good way is, and walk in it, and that shall find rest for your soul. The idea behind it is that we took time to study 100 years of other cultures that have immigrated to the UK over the last 100 years to see how they arrived in the country, the challenges they face, how they survive, how they integrate, and how they become part of the society and become established. That even we that came late thought they are always been in this country. And what we did was to study, like I said, that we studied the last 100 years. And we started from in UK, immigration has always been a UK thing. People have always immigrated in the UK. As far back as 2,000 years, the Romans came to UK, invaded UK, and they immigrated in the UK. But the first time in the UK where mass immigration arrived, when people arrived in the UK in mass, was in 1885. And the first group of people that came to the UK were the Irish. And from their stories, we're going to be looking at, from then onward, about 4 different batch of people from around the world have immigrated in the UK. And what we did for this toolkit was to look at what they experienced. So instead of we trying to start from the scratch, we can look at what they have done and then look at how they were able to integrate and then learn from it. And that's what the toolkit is all about. So we're going to be talking about a lot of, I'm sure in the course of the interview, we're going to be looking at a lot of different aspects of what it takes to immigrate into UK.
Okay.
Become established in UK and try, and especially our children, to thrive in this society.
All right.
A couple of things you need to learn, and that's what the toolkit covers. And what it teaches parents how to handle different aspects of the society that is important for them to be able to establish in the United Kingdom.
Thank you very much. So my next question is, so what are the challenges that are unique to the African family? What are they going to struggle with? Because you've done your research, because I want this to be concise and be on point. What are the challenges that are unique to African family? What are the struggle there that you see, and now what kind of failure that they will encounter? What are the chances for their children to succeed even in the difficult situation? So let's start picking this from this question.
And that's a very good question. One thing we need to know is that any group of people that have immigrated into UK have had to go through different kind of terrain, and I would like that first then identify why we of Africa, families of African descent, even have greater challenges. For example, everyone that has come to this country, let's start from the Irish. Irish came into United Kingdom in 1885 because they have famine in their country, because basically there was a disease called blight. It affected potato, which is a staple food. And as a result, there was famine, and over 1 million people died in the process. Now, during that process, some traveled to United States, but about 600,000 came to UK. And when they arrived in UK first of all accepted them initially, but suddenly the newspaper started talking about them as they always talk about we African immigrants. So the reason why I'm bringing this out is that some of the comments and the feedback and the reaction that we get as the latest set of immigrants. I mean, the Africans are the latest set of immigrants. It's not new. So when the Irish came, they were rejected. They were stereotyped as poor, uneducated, and untrustworthy. They were pushed to the poorest part of the United Kingdom, and they were crowded in slums in Liverpool, Manchester, and East End. In fact, their children were not allowed to go to school, and that's why, because at that time UK was purely Protestant and the Irish were Catholic, so they were forced to set up their own school, to took on a low-paid and physical job. The Irish were the people that built the dock and the underground system that we enjoy in the United Kingdom, and their women were forced to do domestic services. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this so that we can start begin to see that some of the things that African families are going through in the United Kingdom are not recent, are not unique, but and also to give us an encouragement that it's a matter of time that we will become established and we will thrive even more in this country. So how did the Catholic deal with this? They started building Catholic school for their children because their children were not allowed to go to school. The parents started sending their children. The parents started sending their children to school because one thing that immigrants in United Kingdom realized quickly is that the only one of the best way that our children will be better than us is through education. So they sent their children to school, and they built Catholic school in the UK, and they sent their children to school primarily to become teachers and nurses. So with time, their children were absorbed into civil servants, and that's how Irish began to thrive in the United Kingdom. Now, what's the lesson that African families can learn from this? First of all, our community is a shield, and when there's no external support, we have to rally around to help ourselves. I'll talk a little bit about the Jewish community as well, because they came in 1905. Before the Jews arrived in 1905, they were living in Russia and Eastern Europe. If you know the Jews very well, the Jewish Jews, they live in there. They practice traditional Judaism, and they live in isolated communities. But around 1905, there was the Eastern Europeans started attacking them. They started experiencing persecution, and their communities were attacked. Their women were raped. So as a result, they have to flee to United Kingdom as a refugee. Now, when they arrived in the United Kingdom initially in 1905, they were welcome. But immediately the newspaper started picking up, started picking bad news about them, started becoming suspicious about them as hostile. They started claiming that Jews are taking their jobs, they are depressing wages, they are bringing diseases. I'm sure most of us are familiar with some of this feedback. As a result, in 1905, the United Kingdom established the first immigration law. They call it Alien Invasion, Aliens Act 1905. Because up to that time, when you come to United Kingdom, you don't need visa. They just allow you in. But as a result of the backlash of the Jewish coming to this country, that's where all this that's immigration law in United Kingdom started. Now, this is very important because it helps us to understand how come we have to go through borders, how come there's illegal and illegal immigrants. In those days, up to 1905, if you come to the border of UK, you are absorbed. But for 1905, after the Jewish experience, they started deciding who can come to UK and who cannot come to UK. Like the Irish, the Jewish too were forced to stay in the slums area. They were exploited. They were only allowed to stay in East London. Most of them were tailors. They were stereotyped. They are stereotyped as the greedy, as clannish, as untrustworthy.
Okay, so I want to understand the Jewish, the Irish, and the challenges which they are focused, which you've been trying to explain to us. In order to save time, I just want us to talk about the African community. Are we facing the same situation? Yes or no? If we're facing the same situation, what is the way forward?
Yeah, that's a very good question. The reason why I was laying the foundation to that is, first of all, to put it in context that there are some things that are peculiar to all the immigrants that come to United Kingdom.
Okay.
But what is peculiar about what makes our challenges greater is the assimilation. So let me just use a very good example. In 2021, two sets of immigrants came to this country, the Ukrainian and the Commonwealth countries. Now, most of the time when they call immigrants, they don't refer to the Ukrainians. They don't refer to the Ukrainians. They refer more or less to we Black Africans and people that are of color. So some of the challenges that are peculiar to Black people are racial discrimination, and it becomes very difficult to get assimilated into the community because of our color. And there's a lot of stereotype. The visible racial differences increasing discrimination. That reduces the way we are accepted into the community. So you can be in this country for 100 years or 50 years. When an Irish and a Jewish, when they came to this country within 30 years, once they change their accent and they become middle class, they become absorbed into the society. But we African, because of our color, because of our color, it slows our acceptance to the national identity. There's a cultural misunderstanding as well. While we Africa, we have different hairstyles, we have different languages, we have different food, we have different parenting styles, which makes it very easy. So the way we parent in Africa, automatically when you do that in UK, it can easily become a safeguarding issue. The way media frame us as well make it difficult for us to be able to integrate easily into the society. So those are the primary things that make us. For example, research have shown us that in the UK, African immigrants are the most educated in the United Kingdom. However, when you look at statistics, in terms of the number of employment that's within our community, Africa has 8% unemployment, whereas the national average is 3%. So with our qualification, with all our experiences, with all the skills that we bring to the community, because of the slowness in which we are being accepted, integrated into society, we ended up doing a job that we are overqualified for. And it makes us longer. It takes longer because we won't become integrated. Another good example is the Ukrainians, when they came, they were running from war. They are regarded as refugee fleeing war. But when Africa comes, even from places like Sudan and other areas where there is war, they don't look at them as refugees fleeing from war. They look at them as migrants. And that's one of the challenges that we face as the African community, in that it takes us longer to get absorbed into the community, unlike all of that immigrants that have come to the country.
Thank you. So you wrote in your toolkit, it said communicating effectively with British school. What is that all about?
Exactly. One of the reasons why we African immigrants come to UK is to improve, is for educational reason. That is to improve the quality of education of our children. Because one, we believe that UK has higher quality schools, as our children are going to have access to resources. However, and in, in schools in UK, if you don't understand how it operates, it's very easy for you to get bought. Because schools are not a neutral place. They are front lines and battlegrounds where identity of our children are being formed. So education in UK is like a two-edged sword. It can empower you and it can exploit you. And these are some of the challenges that our children are going through in schools. So it's so important as a parent, as an African parent, when you come to this school, you need to understand how the schools in UK operate. Culturally, in Africa, most of the time, schools are regarded as the school is totally responsible for the education of our children. But in United Kingdom, that is not the case. It's a partnership between the school and the parents. And what I always say to parents is that being quiet does not impact schools in United Kingdom. Your participation and your involvement is what makes you is what makes the school take you very seriously. And again, when the school, school believes that at the beginning of each term, you're supposed to identify yourself with the school, interact with the school, ask often about the progress your child is making in school. They don't expect you, whereas where you come from in IB, you need to go to school when there's a parent teacher association or when there's a crisis in school. In UK, education is partnership. And I've seen many, over the years, I've seen many parents when they bring their children to school, they struggle to bring their school children into very good school like grammar school. Or, however, when they drop these children there, because of a lot of activities, for example, as an immigrant, you tell them to get a million job. And as a result, you tend to work long hours. So as a result, you don't have time. Because you believe in that school is responsible for your children. Once, because you don't have time, you tend to leave your children believing that everything is going to be okay. So the first time you will contact the school is when things is going wrong. So my ideal in terms of communication with school is that from the time your children enter school, it's very important for you to introduce yourself to the school. Let them know that you are the parent, that you are interested, and you want to work in partnership with them for the success of your children. Teachers tend to appreciate parents who ask questions, who seek clarity, and who regularly request for updates of their children. However, on the other side of it is how you communicate to teachers. It's very important that when you are communicating with teachers, you are polite and indirect, even when things seem not to be going well. Even if they call you and say your child has done something wrong, it's so important for you to be not to raise your voice, not to shout, but to be polite, but be firm.
Okay.
Ask what has happened. Ask the details of the incident that happened, where it happened, and again, ask what kind of support have they put in place to make sure that incident doesn't happen again. Because it's their responsibility when your child is at school to make sure that they put enough support. So they cannot just come call you and say they've excluded your son.
Mm.
They have to give ratings, what happens, what they've done, the kind of support they've given to him, who is responsible, who has been responsible for the child, the teacher, the Senko, and all the, and so that at the end of the day, you know, as a parent, always look at school, always tell African parents that it's so important that you look at school as a partnership. You are not just in school, you're not you just send your children to school. It's not the responsibility of the school. You are supposed to work with the school to get the best out of your children, because the future of our children depends on how well they do in school, and that is determined by the relationship that we're able to develop with the school.
Thank you very much. Thank you for giving us that point. Uh, you also wrote that we should avoid misunderstanding with the children's services. How can we avoid misunderstandings with the children's services? How can a parent avoid misunderstanding with the children's
That is
services?
a very good question, because one of the I mean I work as social worker in Central London, and I've been doing this for about 6 years. And one of the things I noticed is the relation when many African families ever have opportunity to work with social services, there's always two things that happen. It's either they get petrified or they get aggressive. And from my experience, one of the things I normally share during the seminar is how to deal effectively with social workers. First of all, we need to know their role. Their role is to protect children from harm, from neglect, from abuse.
Mm.
And secondly, their role is to support family who are struggling so that the problem that they are having does not escalate. For example, if you have homelessness problem, if you have drug and alcohol, their role is to work with you. And thirdly, I want us to remove the myth that social worker or social services are there to take your children away. Because it's not in the interest of the government to take your children away financially. And secondly, research has shown many times and times again that parents, the biological parents, where there's no abuse, where there's no abuse or neglect, the biological parents are always the best to take care of the children. So when social worker gets in, well, social worker can get involved with you for different reasons. It might be that your neighbor reported you that you are shouting, or your school saw you marking on your child, and they can, when they see the mark, it's the responsibility of the school. So when you have an encounter with social worker, don't get aggressive about how they're going to know, because they will not come to you except that an issue. Now, what I always tell at the end of the day is that the truth is the most important when you are dealing with social worker, because as much social worker want, social worker are not looking for a perfect parent. There's no perfect parent everywhere. Every parent, and there's no school for parenting. So every parent deal with their children differently. However, yes, in this society, because of what has happened in the past, the role of social worker is to make sure that the children are not exposed to harm, neglect, or abuse. Now, why do African parents have interaction with social workers? There are many reasons. One of them is the way we discipline. It's the cultural differences. Now, the way we discipline in Africa is different from the way the discipline in UK. And if you're not aware of this, you can easily get into trouble, because because in this country they believe that it's better, instead of fighting against a child, instead of uh, instead of punishing a child, you are better off correcting a child. And to do that is to make the child to realize what he has done wrong. So beating a child with and leaving a mark on the body is not allowed in the United Kingdom. Even I remember when I was very young, when I was growing up in Africa, when you offend, they wake you up at 3 a.m. in the morning and start talking to you. In UK, that can easily be, there's no physical harm being done, but that can be easily looked at. How are you waking up somebody at 3 a.m. to talk to them about what you've done wrong during the daytime? It can be looked at even as emotional abuse. And when situation, so when many people migrate to this country, they approach the discipline in that way and they come in contact with social worker. Now, as a social worker, we know that's what you do, but that is not an excuse for you. What you want to know is that you realize you've done wrong and you will not do it again. And you're ready to go to parenting program that will teach you other ways. Because come to look at it, when we beat our children, what we are telling them is that it's easy, it's okay to harm people. It's okay to harm people. Now, as an adult, we don't do that when we go out. When people offend us, we don't just fight. We think we need verbally, we try to teach and learn. And that's what social worker are done. They're supposed to help. Another time when social worker comes in contact with families when there's a domestic abuse. Because husband and wife may say they are fighting and they are not, children are not involved, but your children seeing it and your children experiencing it is emotionally abusive. And again, you're teaching the children that it's okay to beat somebody, it's okay to hurt somebody. And you don't want it, I'm sure after that you don't want them to grow up to be doing that in the society, because it becomes a crime and they go into jail. If you leave the children unsupervised, because back home again, it's easier for a 12-year-old to take care of a 6-year-old, but here it's not allowed, because leaving a child for a child is a neglect. And those are the kind of issues that brings families into the arena of social worker.
Okay.
Your schools might report you, your GP might report you. For example, the remark on your body which you cannot account for, the school has to report it to social services. And when social services come to your house, two things they want to come and do. They want to know what happened. They wanted to get the view of the child. and they wanted to get your own view to see what happened. So don't think we understand that you have your perspective and you have your reason. But first of all, we speak to the children, then we speak to you. However, if there's a harm involved, that is a big cow and there's a mark in their body, that is called physical abuse. Police will be involved. And I'm saying this so that parents are just mindful, because the last thing you want is for a social worker and the police to be knocking on your door because of something you don't know. That's why I'm taking my time again. And during the seminar, so that's why we will go into more details. I'm having to talk about this today very speedily because of time. But during the seminar, we take time to look at, you have opportunity to ask questions, to say, what should you do? Don't lie. When they come to you, don't block them from coming to your house, because it
Okay.
raises suspicion. Allow them to come to your house. Be honest.
Okay.
Tell them what happened. Don't coach the child, because if you coach the child, you will know. Tell them what happened and let them know you are not aware, or if you, are, or you don't even know you are aware of what, up to now you are not aware, you are aware, and you're ready to work with social services to be able to correct whatever problem. So don't panic. Don't. If you do it with the right motive, if you're punishing them with the right motive to come out, and it will teach you a better way of. Don't panic. Don't because of that run away or pack your load. Social
Thank
services
you.
are human beings as well, and no, they are not God. They're
Thank you
just
very much.
people trying to protect the children. And if you look at it at the bottom
Thank you
line,
very much.
your interest and social services interest is the same, because you wanted your children to do well in life. You want them not to be injured, to be hurt, or to be offended. If you look at it that way, you realize that it's better for you to cooperate and work with social services so that you can correct whatever is wrong. And if there's a problem that's going to affect the future of that child, it better dealt with than allowed for the child's life to be destroyed.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Um, you're trying. You've been giving us some insight. So I just want us to just dig deeper into the cultural strategy for raising strong African British children. What are the cultural strategies? Just a few points. Yeah.
Yeah. Raising a child, first of all, is really important for parents to understand what it means for you to raise a child in United Kingdom. Because a child you raise in United Kingdom,
The volume has gone down a little bit. Can you speak up? Your volume.
a child, can you hear me?
Yeah.
A child you raise in United Kingdom has two lives. He's partly an African, so when he's at home, he has to behave like an African. When he's at school, he has to behave like a British. And in between the time, he's confused. Secondly, the pressure they face at school is enormous, more than you can imagine. Because on one side, they there are a lot of biasness and stereotypes they have to pass, because they live in a society. The fact that they are going to school doesn't mean that they are living in a different world. Their teachers are part of the society, and some children, especially in this country, that's what they call adultification. And this is particularly very peculiar to black people, because for some reason, in this society, when they see young black people, they assume they are adults. Now you might think that's not a good thing, because instead of allowing them to be a child, a small child is making noise in the street. People look at him as if, because he's big and tall, they will assume that he's big. That it's an adult making noise. Instead of allowing him to think he's a child, let's give him a space to be a child. They deal with him as adults. The same thing with when police are dealing with our young people sometimes, because of that perception, what they will allow a white person to get away with, a white young person to get away with, a black person might be dealt with unconsciously, because of that perception that they are older than their age. I'm sure we are aware of the recent incident that happened in Acne a few years ago, when a young girl was strip starched in school looking for drug on the day he was doing an exam. The reason why that happened was that the social work, the teacher and the police that are dealing with the case do not look at that person as a child. And a child is a child. The child is allowed to make mistakes. They are allowed to. That's why they are child. So one of the things, if parents need to be aware of some of these challenges, and that's why it's so important that you teaching. You teach your children your culture. It's so important that your children know where you come from, because they will always be black. they will always be different. So it's very important as a parent, first of all, let them have confidence in who they are. Do things in the house that glorify your Africanness. Cook food if you need to cook at least every Sunday. Cook food that encourages their identity as a black person. And again, one thing I always say to parents is this: how you talk about your hometown is very, very important. Now, you should not lie about what is going on in your country back home. But don't forget that anything you are saying, the children are hearing it. Many children will be saying all these negative pictures, and suddenly they will take the child and say, "We want to go on holiday." And that will go and report to it today. My parents is taking me to where they kidnap. So it's very important that the kind of information that we are giving to our children are balanced information. Not where they are come from, not why they are here is different. The meaning of their names. Show them the meaning, tell them the meaning of their names. Find where person is so important. That's why church is so important. That's why when you live in community like this, let them go to churches or places where they can meet people of black mind, so they can teach them the culture, how to deal with it. As an African parent, you need to teach your children respect and dignity, but you also need to teach them individuality because British culture is individuality. As a parent, as an African parent, you will stop and tell your children to do. In the United Kingdom, you have to explain why you have to do things. And I've seen many parents struggling with their children because the children are asking why. How dare you ask me? That, because your brother is United Kingdom, that's how they are training, that's how they are geared up, and you have to be able to help them out. You discover that by the time you know how to explain things to them as well, they start building confidence, start understanding them. When you want to punch them, the advice best way to do is to take things from them that they enjoy. Take their phone on them, instead of beating them, instead of waking them up at 3 a.m. and talking to them. And I always think African parents,
Mm.
this is a very structured one. When the child is playing at home and you correct them, let it end there. I know it's some culture, like the culture where I come from. Up to 2 weeks, they be telling you you do something. That's how you do it 3 weeks ago. That's how you do 4 weeks ago. It messes the because that's not how they are trained at school. At school, when they offend, when they are punished, that's the end of it. And that's how British society operates. Once you go to jail for an offense, that's ending. But bringing up on and on, you might not know it. It makes I've spoken to many children. They said one thing I hate about my mom is that she always brings back everything that I've done wrong. Even 2 months, 3 months after she has said she has forgiven me. So she believes that she's an hypocrite because
Mm.
she has not actually forgiven. How come she keep on bringing it up? Those are the kind
Mm.
of things that parents that are really children in the UK need to bear in mind that it's a different culture. The children are having to live between two cultures. And it's your role as a parent to balance because you want them to know your African culture. But you also want them to be balanced and established and thrive and exceed where you can be in this country. So it's hard work. I'm not saying it's hard work, but it's doable. And one of
Mhm.
the things we cover in the training, we're going to look at it, break down steps. We have handout that we printed out that break it down. You're going to go with after the training so you know you and your children can go together and come together and look at this handout and discuss it even at home. Because I'm just
Okay.
thinking about there's no
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, you mentioned identity building and all those things which you are trying to allude us to in this session. Um like you mentioned, we should tell them the truth. We should not be hypocrites and stuff like that. You also mentioned something about faith and culture to be an anchor for our children. How can this happen?
I think faith is so important in United Kingdom. It is so important that without it, the ability for our children to thrive is very, very hard. Because they live in a society where they're being bombarded at school, they are being taught different things, their social media. So the faith gives a foundation in which they can put their decision making on. Because one of the things that I'm a Christian, and from studying the Bible, you are very clear about some certain things.
Mm.
That cannot still is not ambiguous, it's very clear.
Mm.
And I believe as parents, it's so important that we allow our children to grow up with this kind of solid foundation, because without it, all of that foundation, there are different kind of politics that are going on in the UK. There is woke, there is that. But as a Christian, it's so important that our children have a root that they are coming from. So where faith is our background, where faith is our background, our identity helps them, give them confidence. So as a believer, in fact, one of the reasons why Jamaicans, why the Caribbeans, one of the reasons why they survive, I didn't have time, one of the reasons why they survived was that when they came to this country, they were invited to this country to come and help build this country after World War. But when they came, they were mistreated. And they were the first black people to experience racism in school. It's a long story. But what they did was they gathered together and they started what they call Saturday school in churches. And what that Saturday school does is that it allows children that are struggling in school to have an opportunity to learn mathematics. But on top of that, they also teach them their culture so that they can be established. And churches became a primary room where most children are being reinforced about what is right. In my culture, they said, "Oh, the son of future." So your faith as a parent is very important. I don't want, and again, when I say about faith, faith is about in the morning teaching them the principle of the Bible, praying together, worshiping together. On top of that, be very careful about how you talk about your church members when you are driving them to church and coming back, or when you're having time. Because in this country, one thing that parents in Africa, the difference between hear what we say alone, they see what we do. So you can be saying the right thing, teaching them everything I've said, and they do not behave very well, because at the end of the day, they are not just hearing what you are saying, they are seeing what you are doing. And that's why it's so important for parents, African parents, that we ourselves need to be very solid, because our children are not going to be hearing just what we tell them, they'll be hearing how we behave and how we go. That's where faith comes in. Because faith gives us if we operate by the standard of the faith that we believe in, it helps us to live a life that is unconsciously a standard for the children, so that they're going to pick up from where we are and move on from there. So faith is very important, and our culture is very important. It shapes our identity. It helps us to make decisions that will be complex, because you know what the word of God thinks about this, and the word of God is truth.
Okay, thank you. So I want to also want you to touch on parent attending school meeting, the how essential it is for parents of to attend school meetings, and what should they do when they get there.
Exactly. It's so important as a parent that you attend. In fact, let me just come back a little bit. One of the things that parents should do straight away for the child enter your school is that go and identify yourself, go to the school and identify yourself as the parent. Tell them, no, you're the parent of the child, you're interested in the wealth. Don't let it be when they need you. Don't let them even be before during the PTA. Let them know you straight away. And that's number one. Two, communicate to the school regularly. Ask them, how is my child doing? What is strength? What is weaknesses? What should we be doing at home to help him? Is there any website or tool that they can use? When you do that to teacher, they know you take interest in your children. Now, culturally, that is different, because in Africa, your kid, if you are quiet, you're a good parent. That is, you don't disturb the teacher, you allow the teacher, but here, they want your involvement. So if you ever introduce yourself, attend all the school meetings, send monthly check-in emails. Just send a friendly email to your teacher, how's my child doing? And if there's any changes in the behavior of your child, request an early meeting. As much as possible, keep everything polite. Make sure things that are discussed are written down. Don't raise your voice, because it emphasizes the stereotype we have against about us, that we are aggressive. So if you raise your voice, be very far. Put it down in writing. If you know you're that angry and you cannot cool yourself, write it in an email. Write it, make sure you read through that email, so that when you communicate, when you send it out, they can understand it. Now, you know your teacher is the first point of contact with school. depending on the situation, if at the same code that you want, if his behavior is same code, so you know who to speak to. And if you after the meeting, if you're not happy, you're not geared to it. You're not subjected to them. You're like I said, it's a partnership. So don't feel intimidated if you're not happy with what is discussed. Share it to them. It's not a full way to keep quiet to absorb because in African school, they give us instruction, we take it. But in UK, it's vice versa. So you give us instruction, we ask questions, we come together and form a plan on how to lead these children successfully. Sure, it's also important that you show your children that you and the school are in the same team. Don't talk negatively about the school. Let them know that you are working with the school and the school are important. I always say to parents as well, if your children is going through something, feel free to share with the school because your children spend a lot of time in the school. So if there's a month, somebody in the family there, your child is not feeling and is emotionally down, or there is a problem, share it with the school because one of the things the school will do for your children if you share it with the school is that they will put a support in place. But if they don't know, they cannot put that support in place. So if your child not feeling well, let them know ahead of time they're not feeling well. So if so if your child is struggling, because that one of the stigma in Africa, which I think is going down now, is this learning disability. Most of us don't want our children to be categorized into learning as learning difficulty, especially if they have learning difficulties like autism and all these things. What I always say to parents is that if your children is challenged in that area, we are in a society whereby it has been recognized that that is not a disadvantage. So they will work with your child and put support in place to be able to help you to thrive academically. But if you don't, but before they can do that, they have to have done an assessment and do a diagnosis. And when you do that diagnosis and they know that that children, then there's a kid that is dyslexia, like they can't read, they just can't read, they can't read as fast as you as an average person. In this country, not a disadvantage, they will give school and give support to make sure that they can carry that child along to be able to do enough support to be able to thrive. So what I'm saying to parents is that now I know that we don't want all these things to happen, but when they happen, we should know that all things work together for good. And you to support other people. Because at the end of the day, it's not how we feel that is important. It is the success of our children that is important to us. So we should not use because what our church member are going to say, what our friend going to say when they know that my children are autistic, and then prevent the child from being diagnosed. And they will be able to, yeah, you can be fine. But let the child enjoy the support that he needed so he can thrive and become great. Most of the successful people in this world, like Steve Jobs, they are 50, they're Steve Jobs, they are 50.
Mm.
Their characteristic, the way they look at life, the way their brain is wired is different from you and me. But that gives them an opportunity to focus on the problem and solve it. Unlike me and you, like go through many problems, like go through many problems and solve very few.
Okay, all right. Thanks. So as we're reaching the end of the show, I want you to just uh, give us a concluding statement about all the things we've talked about. That okay, the African people that are coming into this country, they can survive. So and they need to just follow the path that every other people have followed and that have made them to succeed. You've mentioned that they should cooperate with the children's services. They should have a plan for children identity and also faith and culture to be an anchor for the children. So I want you to just wrap this up in one few sentences or few statements, and
Yeah,
then
yeah, thank you very much.
tell them how they can
What
participate in your webinar,
okay,
and yeah,
yeah,
and when you plan to do it.
okay, thank you very much. First of all, I'm a parent like I'm an African parent like you and I. I've been in this country for 30 years and I've raised
Mm,
children and I know it's hard work.
mm,
But one thing I know as well is that we almost all the parents that are here, many of us are here, not because we're enjoying here, but we want the best for our children. And I want to assure you that your children will excel in this country and they will do well.
mhm,
Just, just to do as much as possible. Just follow some of the things that we've spoken about today. And our seminar is we're gonna be advertising it very soon. We put all the packages together. We're gonna advertise it very soon, probably through other media. We'll be talking to different churches and different organizations. And if anybody is interested in in allowing us to come to their church or their training center to come and give this training to their people, we are more than available to do that. I think you can contact Mr. Awe directly and be able to help us, and be able to guide us where we are. I think it's very additional. I think it's very additional. I'm very you can go there and check a little bit about us.
Okay.
And what I'll say again is a lot of immigrants have come to this country, they've done well. So we are not exceptional. All the challenges that we are facing, many of you are doctors, are engineers, you're having to do cleaning job, support work. Don't think it's not the end, it's just the beginning. One thing about this country is step by step. You will get there. It's tough right now, it's a little difficult right now, it's cold right now, but it gets better with time. And that's what I want to encourage them. Your children that you brought here, you will look back and say, if I don't give anything, I've seen my children becoming better than I am. Like I said, we're going to be having a seminar very soon. We're going to be advertising it more, and you feel free to contact the host of this channel to get more information about when we're doing the next one. I think we're planning to do the next one first week in January, but we're going to do more advert out to promote it so that a lot of you that are interested in it can come up. But I think it's very useful. I think the timing is very good. I think it's very important for us to take advantage of people that have come before us. So that we can learn from them, get confidence, and then know what their pitfalls are and avoid it, and even move beyond where we are right now.
Okay, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time, and I just want to say thank you to every of the people that are watching right now, and those that are going to watch this program later. As our guests have said, Mr. Adesina, there's going to be a webinar in the new year. Second week, first week, second week in the new year. You'll be hearing from us on this platform. I want to appreciate you, sir, for being here. Thank you for the good work you're doing. And I believe that your reward will be so large in this world and the world in the next eternity to come. God bless you. And thank you for being part of this program. God bless you. And I see
Thank
you
you very
again.
much.
God bless you.
Thank you.
See you later.
Thank you very
Bye-bye.
much.
Bye. And all our viewers, I appreciate you. And I want you to watch this, share it, like it, make a comment, and then we will be able to respond to you if you have any question. And I will see you again. I remain your host, Olusegun Awe, on Touch Bearer podcast. This podcast is meant to show you what others have been able to do, to show you the pathway, to show you the light in this land of green uh, fruit and honey. So God bless you. Till